Boom, the kilobytes are flowing. So we're live. All right, guys, check it out. Here's the scenario. I just did actually yesterday, I just did a live VFX tracking and it crashed on me anyways. So I went back today and I'm doing these daily VFX tracking practices, right? So I just finished tracking this one here. And unfortunately, I didn't go live at that time because I thought it was going to crash and it just didn't work out, but it worked out. So I've got my track set up here. Let me quickly jump in here. And if you guys are, anybody is there and you can hear me, make sure we are loud and clear. And one other thing here, let me get my OBS set up really fast here before we get into this so I can make sure things are running properly. One thing set up. Hang on. Okay, and I think we should be good to go. And boom, boom, boom. There we go. All right, so this is what I've got going here. Let me quickly show you what I've got. I've tracked this scene out here, and if we were to remove this plane so you can see what my footage, this is my footage here. And man, I actually should go ahead and erase these. Well, before I do any type of rendering, I'll need to take out these tracker markers, which is a whole nother video tutorial. But the track is solid. It took me a minute to get this track to line up. I used my Canon camera here. So let me jump into the track and motion tracking here so you can see. And this one, I actually gave as much as data as possible. So what I ended up doing was I went into here, and I don't want to mess with anything right now because the track is set up. I went in here, chose my camera, APC sensor. I chose my camera lens, 18 millimeter, and set everything up. And the first time I did it, it did not work. Like it was way off. It wasn't syncing up properly. So then I went into my, where is it at? I went into my camera, and my original camera, I went into this right here, camera horizontal sensor filter. You can change it from horizontal to audio to vertical. So I switched it to horizontal, which I normally do for this type of aspect ratio of film, and it didn't work. So I went back again, set all this stuff up, and then hit it, and then boom, it locked right into place. Okay. So this track is pretty much solid. It has a solve error of, what do we got here? 0.35. Anybody who follows my tracking stuff, I like to get it down to 3, right? Because I know it's going to be nice and tight. And you can clearly see here, this is sitting tight. Like, look how tight that looks. That looks great. Okay. So now what I'm going to do was I'm going to start building out my geometry. Like I want this to be a ground plane. And then on top of here, what I want to do is I'm thinking about replacing this pot right here with a CG pot, or I might even just add a new pot right here. And then I want to use one of my new materials that I just built inside of my material asset library for school. It's kind of like this. Let me quickly show you the material that I just finished building out here. Hang on one sec. We'll jump into school. My school, if you guys don't know what my school is, it's basically a Blender Octane community. And in here we have like our everything. I put all kinds of information here just pertaining to Blender Octane. We got a classroom. Look at all this material just for Blender Octane, a whole bunch of courses and things like that, and videos, hard to find videos that I had spent many months scouring the depths of YouTube and putting them all in here. We've got add-ons and things like that for Blender that were, for Blender Octane and stuff like that. But anyways, here is our new material asset library, which we just finished, our version 4 asset library here. 12 new materials added to it, and I'm constantly adding to this. So I just built out this whole epoxy, what is it? I forgot, toxy or whatever it is here. Let me see. We can go ahead and save this file here, and I'm going to quickly open that file and show you guys what this material. It's all fully procedural, and I based it off of the Grayscale Gorilla version. So like I get the Grayscale, I have the Grayscale version, and I look at it and I try to literally build mine side by side. So this is the material that I just built here. We can clear here. This is the Grayscale Gorillas version, and that's just like the image map. There's all PBR materials, but I want to go with and make things, what is it, a procedural, so we can get that ultimate detail, unlimited resolution when we do that. So I finished this up yesterday, day before yesterday, and let it load in here. And you can clearly see here's the network. Quite not that complex, but again, trying to reverse engineer things that I used to do in cycles and reversing them into Blender Octane, and it's really working. And this is taking a little bit longer than normal to load in. What's going on here? Okay, that's activated. And what's going on? Just because I want to show the material off now. It seems like the last 2 days, every time I decide to start live streaming, things get wonky. And I think that has to do with something that's going on in the background with OBS. That's the only thing I can think of. Like, now why is this not showing up, dude? Let's see. You know what? I'm just not gonna, I don't want to deal with this right now, but it's this material. I don't know why right now Octane or Blender is being wonky. Okay, server not activated. Okay, hang on. Let's try this one thing here. Man, dude, like, and then yesterday I tracked the footage right before I went live and it went perfectly fine. And I go live and I track it and it goes completely opposite. Like, it didn't work. Like, it wouldn't line up. Like, I don't know, dude. I'm just not having any good luck. I'm gonna go ahead and turn off this server. I'm not having any good luck with going live right now, dude. But that's not gonna stop me from doing my deal and making content, right? Okay, close the server. All right, let's open up a new server. And let's wait for it here. We come down here. It is disactivated. I'm gonna go ahead and click on it, double click, activate. And let's see if we can get this to activate. And there it goes. It is activated. All right, close that, and let's try again. One more quarter into the machine. Pa-ching. Will it work? Bing, it works. Okay, so this is the material that I made here. Fully procedural, really cool. There's another lesson in our school made by Alex. He shows us how to make this whole material using this whole setup here. And again, I can change the colors. I can come over here. I can change hue, saturation, all kinds of stuff. Like, you know, it's fully procedural, right? I can change the little sizes of these. And then if I come over here and I show you, like, boom, this is doing what this is. Like, that's some noise that's going on top. Then we've got another thing going on here, a little bit of noise pattern. Here's the pattern that you're going to see. And then here's the actual mask that I use. And, you know, by adjusting these here, I can make these bigger or smaller. It's fully procedural, right? You know the deal. So I've got that material. And let's go ahead and get back into what I wanted to do. Open plot track. So I'm going to make a vase or like some type of pot. And I want it to sit right here on this table here using that material. So I've got my track. My track is ready to go. Now what I want to do is build out the geometry. So what I already started doing here, if you can see, I built this desk that is going to sit on here. And playback really, really slow, which I probably might need to make a proxy file to get a better playback. So, okay, my playback is not the way I like it. This is a good tip to show you guys how to do this. Check it out. So this is our playback, 6 frames a minute. I'm not digging that, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump back into my motion tracking. I'm going to come here. I'm using an EXR. That's why my back plate is an actual EXR file. So what I'm going to do here is make a proxy file. If we go to footage, you can see right here we have proxy. I'm going to tab this down, click on it, and I'm going to say I want a 50% proxy of the original footage. I'm going to tab 50 only, and then I'm going to say build proxy. Okay, and in the background down here on the bottom, you can see we got the blue bar running. It is actually building the proxy right there. And then what I'm going to do is replace my background footage with the proxy file. Okay, so we zoom back out. Now let's go back to my layout, and I'm going to click on my camera, and then down over here we can see we go to background images. If that's like that, boom, tab that over. And then what I'm going to do is right here, proxy render size right here, proxy render size. I'm going to click on that and I want 50% because that's what we made. Now, if we jump back over here and hit play, boom, 30 FPS. Look at that. Now we're jamming, right? Okay, good. Now, this is a good opportunity so I can show you guys how they set up all these passes and shadow passes and things. Here is my, I'm going to add in a, just going to add in a cube for now. I'm not going to build the geometry out here for you. This is to mainly show you guys how. Actually, we'll throw a Suzanne head on there. Why not, right? Let's scale that down, add a subdivision on that, and smooth surface. I'm going to go GZ it up, right? And it's facing backwards, so that means my whole scene orientation is definitely backwards. This is front view. Yeah, the whole camera is actually backwards, but I'm not going to worry about that right now because it looks good here. So what we can do here is I'm just going to take this, rotate it 180. Okay, rotate on the X, something like that. I'm actually going to the front view, zoom in on Suzanne, jump into edit mode on Suzanne. I'm going to go GZ it up so I can get the origin point right here. And then go ahead and put that back, jump back into my camera view, grab the head. I'm going to turn my snapping on and I have it set to plane. I'm going to go GZ, boop, and snap that right there. Okay, that is snapped there. And turn that off. And then I'm going to go to the side view and just, this plane is completely not proper. But the reason why is because I left it built on, I built it in the camera's perspective. So it's lining up for the camera, right? Okay, and if I hide my plane, Suzanne is sitting there tight. Look at that. Suzanne is sitting there tight. Let's move it forward, GY, something like that. Okay. One quick check here. All right, nice. Let me go back here to OBS, make sure things are running. If you can hear me, if anybody can hear me, let me know how the sound sounds. Chime in and let me know what it sounds like. If the mic is, can you hear me good? Okay, now what I'm gonna do. Oh, did I just hit stop stream? No, I didn't. Good. Now that I got my ground plane, I'm gonna project my image. This video, I wanna project it onto my ground plane. So we're gonna bring back the plane, which is tracks here for me. And what I wanna do, we're gonna go into the material. Colorado. Is this a add-on camera? No. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. You guys are seeing some behind the scenes stuff I'm working on. This is going to be another Gumroad release that I'm working on. I'm going to be releasing it for my community, but I'm going to release a couple for you guys out for free on Gumroad. I basically made some preset cine camera, and in Octane has a camera lens system that's pretty advanced, like way more advanced than what you can do with the Cycles camera. Like the parameters that I can use on my camera. For example, if I just jump over here to the side, okay, and I scroll down Octane Camera. If you look here, let me zoom in type for you guys. Boom. We click on Octane Camera. All right, boom. There is a universal camera. And then inside of here, we got a baking camera. This is your standard lens one, but the universal camera gives us way more control. I have all of these different types of real world camera settings that I can kind of tweak here. Lens distortion, ceramic aberration. Here, you know, different types of projections for fisheye lenses, panoramic, all kinds of stuff like distortion. Look at all the distortion, spectacle distortion, barrel distortion corners. And then you got aberration, spectacle, chroma. Like it's intense, like how much you can really tweak your lens to look real. Like, and here's all this other stuff, aspect ratio, aspect edge, blade count, rotation roundness, center, all this stuff, optical vignetting. Then we got split focus diopters. Once you start getting into anamorphic type lenses, it's intense, right? So what I've done is I've made some tweaks to my lenses to give them a little bit, to make them look not like the standard default camera. And what I've done is I made a bunch of presets. So I got a fisheye lens, 8mm, 14mm, 20, 24, 35. Just, you know, I'm big into cinematic filmmaking. My other YouTube channel is all about mobile filmmaking and cinematography things, right? So now I'm trying to build some different types of cameras. You can see here some of these previews of different looks that we're getting distortion. So that's, yeah, I'm using one of my lenses here, but this works on standard any lens, right? Because all you're making sure is this right here, this camera solve is basically all the data from tracking, right? So yeah, you did get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes on what's going on over there. Okay, so now what we're going to do is jump into the shading. I'm going to come in here and show you how we're going to project this image onto this piece of geometry. Let me jump into the render view. And let's go ahead and HDRI. You know what? I did make an HDRI for this shot. I shot one with this app called HDRI, and it is only, unfortunately, for iPad or iPhone. Let's see if I can find it. HDREYE. HDRI app. Yeah, here it is. HDRI app. This is the app that I used right here to make my own HDRI. And I'm going to have to quickly download that because it should be already baked out and ready to go. Let me quickly go ahead and download that. And the thing is, unfortunately, that is not free. It is a paid app. And I'm not a fan of iPhones and iProducts, and I'm just not a fan of the whole iPhone world and things. But that one app is only available on iPhones or iPads. And I'm like, ugh. So, and it makes it an actual EXR file, which is really nice. So I can shoot my own. Like, I don't have a 360 camera, so this is the next best closest thing that I can do with that. So I'm gonna go ahead and while that's downloading in the background, we're gonna go ahead and set this up here. So I'm on my ground plane. I'm gonna add a new material onto my ground plane, and then I'm gonna just change the color just so we can see. Okay, yep, that is it. What I'm gonna do is come in here. I'm gonna go. Now this workflow right here is only for Octane, okay guys? It's a little bit easier to do VFX using Octane for me, especially the way the workflow is for cycles. So I'm gonna add an RGB image in here. I can type RGB image, and then I'm gonna go ahead and connect that to the albedo. There it is. And now I'm gonna load in my video footage, the video plate that I used to track it, and which is going to be right here. Right? I'm gonna go ahead and load that in. Oh, don't crash on me. I probably should put it in this mode. There we go. A little bit easier for the system, right? I'm just going to press A. And I don't want it to, okay, good. Open. All right, so now that I got my footage in, I need to tell it how many frames. And I think this shot is not 205 frames. It is, ooh, I didn't set this. Set frame range. It is 355. And that's why it wasn't playing back where because I didn't prefetch the data into there. Interesting. 335. Go back to my layout. Shading. And then I'm going to put my frame duration is 355. Is that what I said? I already forgot. Yeah, 335. 335. All right, set start frame is going to be frame 1. I'm going to hit cycle and then OK auto refresh. And that thing is still downloaded in the background because we are live, so it's taking a little bit long time. Awesome. I'm just using Blender, and your YouTube channel has helped me a lot. Good. That's my goal. My goal is just to help people out because I struggle, especially using Octane. Like I couldn't find anything out there. So I was like, you know what? The heck with this. As I learn this, I'm going to start sharing what I learned. Okay. That's just exactly how this whole YouTube channel came to birth. Now, we're still not seeing it projected on here, right? Because we need to change the projection. See, here's projection. I want the projection from the camera point of view. So I'm going to go Shift A. I'm going to add in a camera data node here. Here's our camera data. Look, front projection. Plug this into projection. Make sure keep front projection is checked. Boom. Now we can see our video on there, right? I'm going to go to black color wraparound and turn wraparound again to black color, okay? Now, we can see our videos being projected on this plane here. Now, which is nice is this plane is also going to be reflecting the colors that you see on there. Now, the light is way off, so that's why it looks weird. DBRs, hello, yo, what's up? What's up? I'm going to go ahead and kill what I got going here. And again, I'm just waiting. Okay, is the HDR is downloaded. So now I'm going to go ahead and load in my HDRI that I shot for this. EXR, boom, boom. Okay, boom. Let me go ahead and make sure we save just in case things crash. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up here. And actually, no, that doesn't look like the right HDRI. That is definitely not the right HDRI. Hang on here. Let's get into download. Make sure. No, that's not the right one. September 3rd. That should be, what is today? Today is September 6th. And maybe it's not done downloading. Hang on, let me just go to the downloads folder really quick and take a look. Folders, downloads. Oh, and here it is right here. I'm just going to drag it into the viewport here. Boom, there it is. This is what we want. Just dragged it in. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take this guy here. Delete him. Plug this guy in here. Plug it into texture. And then we take projection. We plug projection into projection. Okay, boom, there's the one. Now, I'm going to set this up the way the shot was, and I'm just going to rotate this around. This light, this window here was the back right here. So it's kind of like that. That was kind of like how the shot was set up. And it does look a little bit wonky. So what I'm going to do is just kind of tweak it out here a little bit. Try to get it to set. Unfortunately, that doesn't do anything. I don't know why I'm doing that. Ooh, don't we want that? We want this to be 1. Okay, and this is kind of more of the shot, how it was set up here. That's the plant in the background for the video that I was trying to shoot right there. And just trying to line it up as close as I can get that way that light is. All right. That's good. The light was coming from the back. Now on our plane here, now let me close some of these windows in the background. Stuff is sucking up data. Okay. And let me get my chat back up. Boom. There we go. Good. DB's in the house. Good. All right. Now, back into our camera view. And one thing we need to do, make sure we come in here and we're going to go to our render settings. We're going to change this from alpha to no alpha. Now we don't want to see our background. We don't want to see the HDRI. We just want to see our video background. So this is enables. This is like what was it? Transparent background inside of Cycles. This is the same thing inside an Octane. Okay. Boom. That looks better. That looks good. I'm happy with that. My focal point is off on my camera. Let's switch back over to here. This here, I'm going to switch it to GGX. And the roughness on here, let me go ahead and turn up my samples and my viewport because I'm setting at 20. Let's go 256. Get a little bit better there. Let me set my focal point on my camera to the Suzanne head. And actually, I'm going to set it more closer to what it was in real life. So I was using my camera there. I was at an aperture of, I think, 0.8 or 8 was my aperture. F-stop aperture was 8. Right, and what I'm going to do is give it a little bit more. I'm going to give it more because this was all this was in focus. I'm going to give it 12, maybe even probably more. Let's set the focal point. The focal point was set for here. We're going to say it right on the Suzanne head, just like that. Okay, and of course the video is not going to be. I'm in render mode right now, so that's why it looks a little bit wonky. Good. Now, what we want to do is like most people are, okay, now we're going to set up the shadow catcher. Well, yeah. We can do that, but I don't need to do that in Octane. Like all this data that's here, I can easily just capture it without having to do a whole, you know, what do they call it? Shadow catcher, right? So if you wanted to just make this a shadow catcher layer, I could easily come down here on my universal material, which is our principal BFD in Octane. If I scroll all the way down to the bottom, I can just go, boop, now it's a shadow catcher, okay? And let's look how our shadows, I'm looking at my references. This shadow here, and this shadow here, like it's coming off a little bit more. You see this shadow here? It's coming off a little bit more at this angle. This is a little bit too straight, okay? So let's go back into our world and let's rotate that again. So the shadow is coming a little bit more like something like this. See here? I'm looking at this angle. I'm looking at this angle where the shadow's coming off at. Where this shadow's coming off at right here. And I think that might be good. Let's come back just a little bit more this way. Okay. I'm actually really looking at the real plant, but that's already been 2 hours. So the times the shadow has shifted, but that looks good for now. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this, I'm going to go back here. And again, we don't want the shadow catcher. I got a better way of doing this. We're going to turn the shadow catcher back on. We don't need that. Good. What I want to do is tell Octane, hey, I want to take any reflection. Ooh, that is another thing. We do have a little bit of reflection, a little bit of glossiness happening on this. This is not fully opaque. We do have a little bit of glossiness happening on this. All right, so I'm going to give it like about 0.4, okay? Now I'm going to set up my passes. I'm going to come into here and I'm going to go to render AOV passes. And this is how we set up our passes in Octane. I'm going to come here, boop, click on render AOVs. I'm going to rechange this to VFX. So I know that it's something, right? And what do I need? I want the shadows and I want the reflection. Okay, so Octane already knows, hey, we got a special thing called for that. It's called render layers. And in our render layers, if you come over here and tab on this, our render layers are going to basically have our shadow visibility, dirt visibility, or if we had any, and on some other jibber jabber here. But I'm going to come over here to my passes. I'm going to go AOVs. I want to go render. And this is all of our render passes. We can have crypto mats, you know, diffuse passes. If you want to rebuild this diffuse indirect and indirect and all that stuff, reflections, volume, custom stuff, denoising data, info. So we got, look, Z depth. I could probably take that Z depth pass out. We'll add the Z depth just in case too. I'm actually going to plug that into socket number 2. Okay. And then I'm going to go back to ALVs. Then I want right here, render layers. I want black layers shadows. Okay. I want the black layers shadows, meaning just give me black shadows on a PNG. And then I'm also going to go back to render layers and I want layer reflections, anything that's going to be reflecting on this plane. I want that pass. And then that's pretty much all I want. And then Z depth. Okay. So now that I got these passes set, I'm going to need to let Octane know, hey, I want you to activate these passes. Okay. So what I'm going to do is come over here to our view layers. And then right off the back, you can see it already says VFX. If you don't see it, scroll down, there it is, VFX. That lets them know, hey, activate these passes. See, boom, activate it. Okay, now I can preview them. If I come here, black layer shadows. Okay, this is going to be where our black layer shadows are going to happen. Layer reflections are going to happen here. And then denoise data. And then let it do this thing. Z depth here. Ooh, there's my Z depth. And then the way to adjust my Z depth, if I come here, I can scroll here and I can adjust my Z depth. Check it out. Right? Boom, 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 boom. So that's how I adjust my Z depth. Probably gonna go like right about there. I can see his face. Okay, Z depth adjusted. Now, let me switch back to beauty. And if you're in this pass, you can see the same thing. This does the same thing. If I go back to my Z, it's literally, you can see it happening. It's changing over there simultaneously. Okay, so don't get confused. It's all the same thing. Good. Now, I want to say, hey, I've had the Suzanne head sitting on top of this plane. I want to separate that. This is where in the past, if you come up here in Blender, you see we have the foreground and background layer set up because when I was in my tracking, I clicked on, where's it at? Solve. I clicked on here. I clicked right here, set up tracking scene. Okay. Now in Octane, when you do that, make sure, because it will crash every time you try to render the frame, it will crash. Make sure you come in here, go to background, click on the background scene, delete it. We don't need it. All right. Foreground, make sure you're on the foreground or whatever. It only need one. And then I've deleted all that extra stuff that it brings in here, the foreground, background collections. I deleted all that stuff. The only reason why I do that is because I want one node that is, I want my lens distortion, the lens distortion from doing my track. I want that. And when you like, if you don't know what I mean by lens distortion, this is what the VFX guys do. Like, I watch a lot of nuke tutorials, like how to do compositing, so I can take those same things that I learned. How come this thing? See, there's a little glitch going on right here because every time I start streaming, my panel stuff disappears right here. Like I can't see anything. Like right, something's going on, and it's OBS only does that when I use OBS. See, now all this is here. But when I'm in here, it's like not here. So I don't know what's going on with that. Interesting. But here we go. Now we're going to set up our passes, our view layers. So I'm going to click on this plane. I'm going to go here over to object and I'm going to scroll down here and we have object layer ID. I'm going to turn that to 2. Okay. Nothing happens because we haven't activated our render layers yet. Now we come over back to view layers and right here, Octane render layers view. Now if I tick this, boom, the plane disappears, right? Now this plane is like, all we're going to take is the data from the shadow, the reflections. We don't want it to be rendered, but we do want that data, okay? Vice versa, if you wanted to do the opposite, you don't want to see Suzanne, but you want to keep the ground plane, you would just give Suzanne the one, and then let me just do it really quickly. I click on Suzanne, go over here, scroll down to object layer, give her the number 2, come back to my plane, give it number 1. Boom, there it is. Now you're seeing it's like a holdout. That's how we do a holdout here in Octane. Boom. Oh, I just realized something. That's how I do a holdout. I was looking for the holdout node. That is how I do a holdout. I just had a moment here. All right, cool. That's why I'm recording this too, so I can come back and revert to this. So I don't want that though. I want to go back to the way we had it before. 2, and then Suzanne. Suzanne. Hang on, I can't. Where is she? Let me just turn this off. Okay, there. Click on Suzanne. Back here. Give this a 1. Nice. Okay. Go back to my render layers and activate them. Boom. So what did that do? What time is it? Ooh, I got to leave here. Go to work here soon. And that's another thing. You see, I've got this tape measure. My camera went away really quick. Bring that back. You see, I've got this tape measure here. I was measuring the distance between these 2 markers. There's markers on here. This marker here and here. I was measuring the distance. So also when I was doing my track right here, a lot of people don't do this. Right here, this distance, like I went to, okay, it was 5 inches, right? It was 5 inches. So I went in here, loaded up my calculator, went to inches, went to 5 inches to meters, and it's like 0.12, or maybe it was 6, whatever. I think I rounded it off to 6. But anyways, I add that value in here, 0.134, and then hit scale, and it sets the scale. That's the stuff that like they do. That's why in a movie set, they're like taking all kinds of data measurement to get everything to rebuild everything to real world scale. Okay, that's important, guys, especially in Octane, because Octane works in real world scale. All right, cool. Now where are we at? We've got that. I'm just getting all this stuff set up so I can render this sucker out for a test. We've got that. Okay, and there's Suzanne sitting there chilling. And now what I want to do is, you know what, while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and import my texture that I want to eventually add on to. So I'm going to come in here and go Shift or Control S, and I'm going to go to Append, and I'm going to load up that file with that material that I want to use, so I can just see what it's going to look like in this lighting. Where is it at? Number 5, shader V update number 5, materials, right here, procedural. Let that load in. Okay, change this back to my shader editor. Click on this here, and let's see if we have it in. Here it is. It's in. Okay, boom. Now let's go ahead and click on this. And I probably don't have Suzanne. U unwrapped, right? Okay, and the size is way off, which I don't want to go through all the scaling thing. Yeah, the UVs are way off on this thing here. Let's come here and see if I can go XYZ projection. And let's see. Matter of fact, I don't want to deal with that right now. I have to do the projection and all that, the UVs. I don't want to deal with that right now because I got to connect them all to here. So whatever, it's sitting on there. I'll deal with that later. This is just the test. Now that I got that there, so let's stop this, save this, and I want to render out 1 frame to see what we're getting. We should have Suzanne just sitting there chilling. Right, good. She's sitting there chilling. And this is what's dope about Octane. If you look here, this edge, this is an unpremultiplied edge. This is how the pros work. This is how you're supposed to really comp in stuff. It's unmultiplied. The alpha is basically not set. And once you do all your compositing, all these pixels are going to be stretched and moved. And then once you're done, you pre-multiply it, and then this edge will be nice and clean. This is the pro workflow, okay? So don't freak out if you ever see that. You fix this when we go back into compositing. So this is basically like the raw render, the raw alpha file too. Now I'm going to go composite. I'm going to go foreground, combine. Now look at beauty. Now we've got black layer shadows. Boom. There's our shadows sitting there, right? We can composite that later. There's our shadows. Reflection. There's a little bit of reflection happening, not too much. We can, you know, I can probably crank that up a little bit. And then Z-depth pass. Boom, there's our Z-depth pass, okay? And that's just on Suzanne. So if you wanted the whole scene, you'll have to do the whole scene, but I don't need all that. I was just showing you guys that. So boom. So from there, what I would do is start cranking out my animation, make sure I have my motion blur on here just to do a test, and then recomp everything back over. But that is pretty much how you would set up all the render passes, like for Blender Octane. If you were trying to figure out how to do render passes, again, here's my track. We come back over here to render AOVs. And if it disappears like that, make sure you just come back here, out VFX. You can pin it so it doesn't keep disappearing on you right there. This is important. This is how you set up your render passes. Come in here, you make an AOV, make sure you name it. And then you come in here, you click on these little plus, and this is all your render passes. Way more than Cycles has. And then you just find out what passes you need. Once you get those passes all the way your next, now how do we export these out? Just go to Blender's normal compositing system. And since I'm doing a tracking thing, it added some extra junk, which is no problem. Check it out, I'm gonna cut that. The only reason why I want this distortion node, because this distortion node is very important. All this stuff here, I'm gonna delete. I don't need. All right. And let's come back here. And I'm going to tell you about the importance of this distortion node. Right now, it's set to undistort. It's undistorting my lens, my Canon 18 to 55 millimeter lens. All lenses have some form of distortion in them, right? And in VFX, the true VFX workflow, oh, I forgot about that button there. The true VFX workflow is whatever camera they have, they know what lens was being used on that camera. And if it's anamorphic, whatever, before you start tracking, you take that lens distortion and you undistort it so it's flat. You want to make the image as flat as possible, right? And then they shoot these lenses on a lens chart so they can know exactly how much distortion is going to be on there. And in Nuke, there's special nodes for that. They'll just lens distortion nodes. So Blender automatically does that in the background when you have to choose. You have to choose and tell it to do this. And the way you tell it to do that is when you come into here, right here, check it out. Right here, focal length, optical center, radial distortion. Once you check that, you're going to get the distortion, okay? So once I get that, where was I? Good. Where was I? Compositing. Okay. Now it's undistorting. So when I add my CG in, here's my CG, I want to add the lens distortion back onto it once I'm ready. Once it's all fully, I want to take the lens distortion, which is concaved and curved, and I'm going to take my CG and bloop, I'm going to concave it and curve it so it sits in the way it was supposed to be if it was shot through that lens. Many people don't do this step on Blender. I watched so many tutorials about VFX and they're like, oh, you don't need all the, so here's their CG, and they slap their CG back on their video and everything looks like this. The true pro workflow they do in Nook, they undistort it, you got your CD, you redistort your CG back inside it to make it sit like even more better, okay? So right now it's set to undistort. I click on this, now it's back to distort. It's gonna take the lens distortion and put it back on my CG. And check this out. You can actually see this lens distortion. When I'm in my camera view right now, if I go to camera, let me get my big old head out the way. If I go to camera and then I go to my background images and then bring this down here, check it out. Render undistorted. I have it turned off. We're not seeing it. Boom. Oh, not there. What happened here? Oh, because I think I changed something. Oh, you know why? No, because I'm using the, it should be because I'm using the, let me go back to full render. Yeah, it was because I was using a proxy. It doesn't, the proxy is already undistorted. So now check it out. We come in here, look at this edge. Most of the lens distortion happens on the edge of the lens, okay? Look at this. Now if I turn this on, whoop, see this stretching? That's the lens distortion from my node, from my lens. So when you have CG in, and if you have, you know, some CG and it's sitting in that portion of the let me just drag Suzanne up. GZ. I don't think we're going to see the distortion happen in there. Let me try. Yeah, we're not going to see the distortion happening right here now. But once you render this, we render it back with the lens distortion. Can we go ahead and let's go ahead and hit distort. Let's plug this into here. And let's render it one frame out. that turned off? Yes, it is. Turn that off. Good. And let's come in here. Let me save what I got going. And let's render 1 frame. And let's see this distortion happening. Okay. Let's see here if we can see anything. Okay, I'm going to render 1, and we'll go to slot 2. And on slot 2, let's go back and turn it off. I'm going to take this and go straight into it. And let's see now. And let's render again. Oh, already you can see the difference, right? I can already see the difference. Look at it, right? Okay, look at it now. And we'll go to distortion. Boom, there it is. There's the lens distortion added back on. Now it's extreme because I wouldn't have it sitting this far on the edge, but that's just to let you know if you had some CG in here, if you don't use that lens distortion, it's not going to work right? Your CG is really not synced in there. This is just really helping to integrate your CD to look like real, right? This is a really cool workflow here. So this is something a lot of people don't do. So boom, I want that. I want that happen. Boom, I want that to be, but I don't want my Suzanne to be in that position, right? She's not going to be way over there in the corner like that, getting that lens distortion. I'm going to put it right here for now. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and do a couple of tests on this. I'm going to render this out, render a couple frames out. And what I'll do is I'll render like, maybe 50 frames out. And then I'll take those 50 frames, go back into DaVinci Resolve, line them up to the video and see if they're syncing and see how tight the track is. And another thing I can do really to also see how tight the track is I can take this guy here. And what I'll do is hide it, leave Suzanne there, and then just come in here in my viewport. And I can just do right here, render viewport animation, and it'll render out a quick one, and then I can watch that. But I don't want to do that. I'm just going to render out a couple frames. I'd rather see the full render and then see what the light's looking and stuff like that. So hope this guys helps. Yeah, I'm, just trying to share the love, share the work process that's not all edited and makes it look like it's super easy, because it's really not. There's a lot of stuff that goes wrong. And I hate watching tutorials and people think it's like one click, and it's really not, man. It's a struggle. Sometimes you got to fight with these things, and that's the way it is. So today only, actually, I got some stuff that's going down on Instagram. If you guys are not following my Instagram, and a couple of my little posts are kind of going viral. So I've got like literally for one day only to join our Blender Octane community. And I'm knocking $5 off the entry fee. Normally it's 15. It's $10 to get in here. And then if you join today, you will have immediate access to the new material asset library here. Normally people in the community who've joined, after a month, you'll get access to this, but anybody who joins in the next 24 hours will immediately have access to this. And I'm going to upload probably tomorrow my new material that I just showed you guys. I'm going to upload that into here. And then I've got some more metal materials that I'm working on. So lots of stuff going down. Blender Octane, links in the comments, links in the description. If not, I do have the Gumroad. Lots of free stuff on the Gumroad, and I have a free Discord server, so you guys can jump in there too. So I got something for everybody, little paid and free. All right, Patrick LeVar, catch you guys in the next one. Keep rendering, keep grinding, keep being you. Peace. See ya.